minutes. Shall I start today's class? So last class we have seen about directory structure. So in directory structure we saw single level directory, two level directory, tree structure directory, acyclic graph structure, then general graph structure. Then after that we saw about the file system structure, how it is implemented by means of a layered approach. And then we saw about how to implement a file system, that is what are the components will be available in on disk structure as well as in memory structure. So for implementing a file system, what are the components will be available in main memory as well as in disk storage. So with and then we saw with the help of a system call, open system call and read system call. And the next we saw about directory implementation. For implementing directory, we are having two methods. One is a linear implementation. Another one is a hash table implementation. In today's class, we will see the allocation methods. This allocation methods means how we are going to allocate files on the disk storage. For that, we are having some mechanism. We will see each mechanism one by one. So allocation method means how files are going to be allocated in the disk storage. So first method we will see about the contiguous allocation method. So this contiguous allocation means the files are going to be allocated in contiguous blocks in the disk storage. The disk storage means the secondary storage, or normally we'll be preferring hard disk as a secondary storage. So if you see, we'll see with the help of this block diagram shown in the slide number 3. So here, the cylindrical structure is assumed to be the disk storage, and within that we are having several blocks. So disk is divided into smallest unit of storage known as logical block. So the smallest unit residing within the disk is logical block. So that 0, 1, 2, 3, etc. up to 31 squares given are nothing but blocks which we have considered within this disk storage. Okay. So here within the disk storage is a cylindrical structure, and the squares within the disk storage is assumed to be the blocks, that is logical blocks. So here, this contiguous allocation, the files are stored in the continuous block. Okay. See here, near this disk we are having a table, there is a directory showing the different files and its start and length. Start means, so if you see a file name, say count. So this file count starts at the block number 0 and it has length 2. Okay. So the file count on the 0th block start ஆகி 2 blocks length இருக்கு. So you can see in the corresponding disk storage, see the count is given by means of shaded region. I hope you can see it. Count starts from 0 and its length is 2. So 0, 1. So we are having 2 blocks length for this count file. Okay. And the next, if you see the another file tr, see that tr file starts at the block 14th block. Okay. And it has length 3. Search this 14th block in this disk storage. There you can see 14, 15, 16. So these 3 blocks are occupied by the file tr, because here in the directory it is given the starting block is 14 and its length is 3. Then 14, 15, 16. So 3 blocks will be the content of the file tr. Okay. Next, we are having another file in the directory mail. So this mail file starts at 19th block and it has length 6. See, you can see the 19th block in the disk storage. From 19th block, we need 6 blocks for this file mail. So 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. So like this, this mail file is allocated. Similarly, the rest of the file, that is a list and F file, can be allocated in a continuous manner. Okay, continuous means, see, all those files in this contiguous allocation will be allocated in a contiguous logical block. Okay, it is not scattered, it is continuous. So only we have mentioned the starting block as well as simply the length. Okay, so like this we can have contiguous allocation of a file in the disk storage. Okay, so this contiguous allocation will be best in performance in most of the cases, but if we don't have that much of blocks in continuous, means it may lead to some performance degradation. So contiguous allocation நம்ம என்ன பண்ணுவோம், ஒரு ஃபைலுக்கு blocks continuous available இருந்தா மட்டும் நம்ம allocate பண்றோம். Suppose நம்மளுக்கு blocks இருக்கு. If a file say new requires 3 blocks. The 3 blocks are available in the disk, but it is scattered somewhere. Continuous இல்ல, 3 blocks நம்மளுக்கு the new ஃபைலுக்கு தேவைப்படுது. அந்த 3 blocks எங்க இருக்கு, அங்கங்க scatter ஆகி இருக்கு. But in using this contiguous allocation, we'll be going for continuous logic block. So this new file can't be allocated within the disk storage. Like this, there is some performance degradation also in some cases. Okay, so this continuous allocation is simple. You see the directory, what does the data is given? The starting block. That is the starting block location and the length of the block. The length of the block is nothing but the number of blocks that the file contains. Okay. So I have said the problem here is we need to find the continuous space for the block. For example, if a file, say sample, has 10 blocks, so we need to search in the disk storage whether there is continuous 10 blocks available or not. But there may be 10 blocks in the disk storage free, but it won't be continuous. It may be scattered somewhere. So in that case, this contiguous allocation can't be performed. So it leads to external fragmentation. Similar to the memory mechanism, here also we are having external fragmentation. External fragmentation means, I said, for this a new file, say sample, it requires 10 blocks. The disk storage has 10 free blocks, but those 10 free blocks are scattered, not in continuous location. Then that is known as external fragmentation. That is, the blocks are available, but it is not in continuous allocation. It is fragmented. Okay. So this condition is known as external fragmentation. So as this in memory management mechanism also, to solve this external fragmentation, we'll be having compaction. So here compaction can be done either offline or online. So offline compaction means during the allocation of the file storage. That is, I said, if a file say sample requires 10 blocks, but those 10 blocks are available in the disk storage, but it is available in scattered memory regions. So at that time, during that allocation itself, if we are performing this compaction, compaction means if we are moving the filled blocks to the top side or to the bottom side of the disk, and we are obtaining a continuous 10 blocks during the file allocation itself. That is known as online compaction. Offline compaction means we will stop this file allocation process and then we'll be performing compaction. That is offline compaction. Online compaction means the compaction is done during the file allocation simultaneously. Offline compaction means the file allocation will be stopped and it will be performed. So in offline compaction, the file allocation will be performed by stopping, sorry, the compaction will be performed by stopping the file allocation. After that, compaction will be performed in case of offline compaction. This offline compaction. So I think in between my volume has been muted. Can anyone say up to which you heard my voice? Okay, then I hope now only it is muted. But also repeat some few points again. In contiguous file allocation, the memory is allocated. There is a logical blocks is allocated in a continuous way. Here, external fragmentation occurs. So to overcome the external fragmentation, we are going for compaction. The compaction performed during the file allocation itself is known as online compaction. It is performed by stopping the file allocation and then it is performed separately means it is known as offline compaction. It is also known as downtime compaction. Okay. Next we will see linked allocation method. So linked allocation method means it's a way of allocating file in the disk storage by using the concept similar to the linked list. Okay, see here in the slide number 5, you can see the disk storage. In the disk, we are having several blocks numbered from 0 to 31. See here, in the directory, you can see we are having a file named Jeep. Okay, the file we are having only one file that is named as Jeep. And here, what is mentioned in the directory? That is the details of the file. The Jeep directory starts at the location or the starts at the logical block 9 and it ends at the logical block 25. Okay, so if you see this Jeep file starts at the logical block 9. So you can see in the logical block 9 it is numbered as 1. Why it is numbered so means it indicates that content of the logical block. Okay, for example here we are having this. So if you see this 9, this is the first logical block of this Jeep file. After this, see there arrow is indicated to the next block. That is, this ninth block will have a pointer to the next block. It is similar to the linked list. So in linked list, what will be having? Will be having pointer to the next element in the list, and that will have the pointer to the next element in the list. Likewise, in this linked allocation method also, each and every logical block will have pointer to the next logical block. Okay, so here you see this ninth logical block is the first logical block. After this, ninth logical block, we are having 16th logical block. So that is indicated by means of pointer. This is available in the 9th logical block. So after the 16th logical block, the content will be in first logical block. Okay. Then next to first logical block, the arrow goes to second logical block. And after that, we are going for 25th logical block. So in the directory, it is mentioned that is a end block is 25th. So this 25th is the last logical block of the file Jeep. So like this, we are having logical block connected by means of a link that is similar to the linked list. So the starting logical block will contains the pointer to next logical block, and the second logical block will contains the pointer to the third logical block. Likewise, up to the end of the logical block will be having that end logical block will have a null pointer saying that is the last logical block of the particular file. Okay, clear? So this linked allocation file method is similar to the linked list. So here the files end with null pointer. Here there is no problem of external fragmentation. So I said in the previous example itself, we are having a new file to be allocated into the disk storage. Say sample, that sample file requires 10 blocks. So the 10 blocks may be available in the disk storage, but it won't be in a continuous fashion. If it is not in the continuous fashion means we can use this linked allocation methods. So using that linked allocation methods, simply we are starting that first logical block number is available in its corresponding directory, and the last logical block number will be available. And then how we are finding the next logical block means by means of a pointer to the second logical block, then pointer to the third logical block. Likewise we are having. So this eradicates the external fragmentation problem. So in linked allocation method, we don't have external fragmentation problem. So we don't need any compaction also. So to improve the efficiency, we can have clustered blocks. Clustered blocks means those blocks may be grouped. The block is grouped means we can have this some group of logical block for this file like that, or some group of for example we can take in this case itself, this is slide number 5. I'm having 0 to 31 logical block. For example, I can take this 10 logical block, 10 free logical block for the file 1, then 10 next 10 free logical block for that file 2. But the size of the file 1 can be 8 and the size of the file 2 can be 9. Like this, if you see means we'll be having for the file 2, after allocating we'll be having remaining one logical block, because the cluster of that or the group of that file 2 is contains 10 logical block. In that, this file 2 occupies only 9 logical block. So remaining we are having one logical block. Okay. The same way, if you see means for this file 1, the cluster contains 10 logical block, but the size of that file 1 is 8. So remaining will be having 2 logical block. So here in this clustered allocation, we'll be having what problem? Internal fragmentation. So internal fragmentation means, so in the cluster itself, we are having some free logical block. So if we see in each and every cluster, there may be one free logical block which is not used and two free logical block which is not used. So if a new file, say file 3, request for allocation in the disk storage, the file 3 size can be 3, but this 3 logical block is available in the disk storage. But how it is available? For this cluster of file 1, we are having one free logical block. For the cluster of file 2, we are having 2 free logical block, but it is available in different cluster. So the request of the file 3 having 3 logical block can't be granted due to the problem of internal fragmentation. So this linked allocation solves the external fragmentation. But if we are having clustered logical blocks means it may leads to internal fragmentation. So here in this linked allocation, reliability can be a problem. So why we are saying reliability can be a problem means, I will say it with the help of the example shown in the slide 5 itself. See here, this slide number 5 itself we will see. Here we are having this G file allocated by using linked allocation method. So this G file starts at logic block 9 and it ends at logical block 25. So in between there are several logical blocks. That is from 9 to 16, 16 to 1, 1 to 10, then to 25. It is the last one. See, for example, this first logical block is corrupted. In a certain time it may become a bad block. If this first logical block is corrupted or it became a bad block, means the that content of this first logical block will be erased. So if you need to access the content of this file G, means first we'll be having 9, then from 9 it will be going to 16, then it will go to 1, but this 1 is corrupted, so we can't access the next logical block, say 10, because this first logical block only contains the address of the next logical block. There is a pointer to next logical block is available only in this first logical block. So if the first logical block is corrupted or it became a bad block, means what can we do? We can't get the remaining logical block. Okay. So in this case, we can't access the content of the remaining logical block due to a problem in the intermediate logical block. So only we are saying there's a reliability will be a problem in case of this linked allocation, because each and every logical block holds the pointer to the next logical block. The directory also, what is given? Only the start and end logical block is given, not how the root is specified is given in the directory. So if an intermediate logical block is corrupted or it became bad block, means reliability will become a problem in case of linked allocation. Okay, next. So the locating a block can take many input and disk seeks. For example, in this file Jeep, if I want to access the fourth logical block, so what it should do? It should start from the 9th logical block. This 9th logical block will contain the pointer to only the second logical block. It doesn't contain the pointer to fourth logical block. So it had to go to the second logical block, and in the second logical block, the pointer to the third logical block will be available. The third logical block only contains the pointer to fourth logical block. Likewise, we can read or write or execute the content of this fourth logical block. For reading the content of the fourth logical block in this file Jeep, we have to travel from this first logical block to second to third, and then only we have to go to fourth logical block. So it is somewhat a long process, and it has a greater execution time. So only we are saying this locating a block in this linked allocation method will take many input and output or disk seek, because it has to travel through many logical blocks. In this case and all, we are having only 6 logical blocks, so it is not a problem. If we have a file of 100 logical blocks and we need to access that 90th logical block of the file, means we have to go from first logical block to the 90th logical block. So it will take a more amount of time, and it leads to large amount of disk seek time. Okay. So only we are saying it is a somewhat a drawback of this linked allocation method. So in this linked allocation method, we'll be having a file allocation table. So file allocation table means here what we are having, the directory. I'm having a file name test. So this file name as a starting block. What is the starting block of this file? 217. So this starting block will be going in the disk storage. Here I have assumed the disk storage in a linear fashion. So here 217. So this 217 is the starting block of this file name test. So this file name test contains the pointer to the next logical block. So if you see, the pointer to the next logical block is 618. So after accessing the content of this 217, it will go to 618. So the 618 will get accessed, and after it, it has a pointer to the next logical block. So the next logical block is 339 in this case. So this 339 content will be accessed. So this 339 is the last logical block of this file. Likewise, only we are accessing files in this linked storage mechanism using a file allocation table. Okay, this is what a file allocation table. The file allocation table means in each and every file location we'll be having the pointer to the next logical block. So that is given in a table. That table is known as file allocation table. File allocation table contains a pointer to the next logical block. Okay. So till now in file allocation method we saw about contiguous file allocation and then linked allocation. Next we are going to see about indexed allocation. So here in this indexed file allocation we will have a index block. It is similar to the index of a textbook. We are having a book. In the book we'll be having an index. In that index the content of the book, there is the topics available in the book along with the page number will be available. Similarly, in this index allocation method, in the directory, here for example in the directory, we are having a file, the same name Jeep. The index block of this file is 19th block. So this 19th block contains what are the blocks belonging to this file Jeep. See here in the below circle, you can see in the 19th block, we are having logical block 9, 16, 1, 10, 25. Like that we are having, okay. So if you see here means for this allocation method, say indexed allocation method, we are having a separate logical block to specify the index. That is what are the logical block required for this file Jeep. So if you see from that logical block, there's index logical block in the storage you can see. From that index logical block, we can access any logical block. 9 may be accessed or 10, 16 may be accessed or one first logical block may be accessed or 10th logical block or 25th logical block. Likewise, any logical block can be accessed directly. In linked allocation and all, we need to travel through the fourth. If you want to access the fourth logical block, we need to travel from first logical block, second logical block, third logical block, and then only we can access the content of fourth logical block. But here in indexed allocation method, see if you want to access the fourth logical block of this file Jeep means, what is the fourth logical block? 9, 16, 1, 10. So 10 is the fourth logical block of this file Jeep. So directly you can go to this index logical block. This index logical block contains the location of all the logical block belonging to the file Jeep. So what is the location of the fourth logical block? This 10th logical block. So directly from this index block you can go to the 10th logical block. Okay. So it has an advantage of reducing the time delay, and also it improves reliability. So in this case, if for example, if this 10th logical block is corrupted, okay, it is a fourth logical block, but I need to access the content of fifth logical block. What is the fifth logical block here? 25th logical block. So I need to access the content of 25th logical block. So then I can directly go to the index logical block and access the fifth logical block, even if the fourth logical block, say 10th logical block, is corrupted. Okay. So likewise, I can access any logical block in this index logical block. The particular logical block becomes corrupted or it became a bad logic block also. So it is a advantage of this index logical block. So here in this index logical block, we are dedicating a single logical block for storing the location of all the logical block available for this particular file. Okay. This is the last allocation method. So in file allocation method, we have seen contiguous allocation method, linked allocation method, and index allocation. And next we will see free space management. So what do you mean by free space means? In the disk storage, we are going to allocate files. For files, we'll be having different blocks. So in the disk storage, the smallest unit is logical block. So these logical block is combined to form a file storage. Okay. So here in this disk storage, if you want to allocate a new file means you need to know what are the free logical block available in this disk storage. For that you need to maintain a free space list to track the available free logical block. Okay. So for this purpose, this file system maintain a free space list. That is, we are having a disk storage of 0 to n minus logical block. What are the logical blocks are free or what are the logical blocks are filled. So likewise, you need to have some details. So only if a new file needs to accommodate in the disk storage means it can see in the free space list what are the logical blocks are free and how we can allocate this new file in the disk storage. Okay. So for that free space management also, we are having some mechanism. So we will see the mechanism one by one. The first one is bit vector or bitmap. This is the first technique for free space management. So this bit vector is also known as bitmap. I hope you all remember this bitmap, which you have seen in the first unit in kernel data structure. So it is a thing which we saw in the first unit only. So here we are having 0 to n minus 1 blocks. Here in a disk storage we are having n blocks, means it will be numbered from 0, 1, 2, 3 etc. up to n minus 1. Okay. So using this bit vector or bitmap, what will be having means to represent free space or a free blocks in the disk means. So we will be having a bit associated with each and every logical block. So each and every logical block will have a associated bit. So here I have assumed bit I. Okay. So for each and every logical block I am having a bit I. So if that particular bit is 1 means that logical block is free. If that bit is 0 means that logical block is filled or it is occupied by some other content. Likewise, we can keep track of the free blocks in the disk storage. Okay. So I'm repeating again. So here we are having n blocks in the disk storage. It is numbered from 0, 1, 2, 3 etc. up to n minus 1. So each and every logical block is associated with the bit. So if a particular bit is 1 means that block is free, and if it is 0 means the block is occupied by some other content. Okay. This bit vector or bitmap free space management technique is simple to execute. That is, we are having a bit, that bit says that block is free or that block is filled. Okay. And this occupies only less memory, because here we are having only one bit associated with each and every block. But what is the drawback means, here we need to traverse all the blocks to find what are the free blocks available. So it is a disadvantage of this bit vector or bitmap free space management technique. So if we want to have 10 free blocks means we have to see from the 0th block to n minus 1 block whether we are having 10 free blocks or not. So it is somewhat a drawback about this bit vector or bitmap technique. The next free space management technique is linked free space list on the linked free space technique. So here if you see means it is similar to the linked allocation. The free space in the disk will be linked to one another. You see the example figure provided in the slide number 9. You can see this figure. Here we are having the disk storage. We are having logical blocks from 0 to 31. Okay. So here, the free space. There is a free logical blocks are given in a ash color shaded portion. Okay. So from 2 to 27, we are having free blocks. So all those free blocks are linked. So in free linked free space technique, we'll be having link between all the free space. So from 2 we are going to 3. 3 is a free block, and then after 3 we are having fourth free block. Then after 4 we are having fifth free block. Then after 5 we are having eighth free block. After 8 we are having ninth free block. Likewise we are going up to 27. So this 27 will have a null pointer to indicate it is a last free block. Okay. So here there's a connection between, or there's a link between all the free blocks in the list, so that we can see what are the free blocks by using this link itself. But here we can't get a continuous space easily. Okay. To see in this example shown in the slide number 9 itself, what are the continuous space available? 2, 3, 4, 5 only available. After this 5, we are going for 8, 9, 10, 11. So that is a continuous. So it is somewhat difficult to find a continuous space available by using this linked free space technique. So here we don't base the space. So the free blocks available may be scattered. Okay. Free block available இருக்கிறது அங்கங்க scatter ஆயிருக்கலாம். We can combine that scattered free block by means of a link here. Okay. So for that we are having a pointer to next free space. So the first free space is the first free logical block will have pointer to the second free logical block. The second free logical block will have pointer to the third free logical block. Likewise, we'll be having a pointer up to last logical block. The last logical block will have a null pointer representing it is the last free logical block. Okay. Okay, then if you see, for traversing, we need more amount of time. That is, here also, to find somewhat in a list we are having in a disk space we are having 100 free logical block. In the disk storage totally there are 500 logical blocks. In that 500 logical block, if we are having 100 free logical block, means I need to occupy the file content to the 99th logical block. So to occupy the 99th logical block, I need to traverse from the first logical block to the 99th logical block. Okay. So the traversing time is somewhat more here in this linked free space management technique. Okay. Because we want to access this 99th logical block among 100 free logical block, I need to travel from 1, 2, 3, etc. up to 99 logical block. Okay. So here the traversing time will be more. The next free space management technique is grouping. So here, this is a grouping technique. We can group the free blocks. That is, it is a modification of this linked free space. That is, to store n-1 free blocks. Okay, for example, I'm having 100 free blocks. So to store this 100 free blocks, I'm taking n-1. That is to have this 99 free block in the first free block. So in the disk storage, I'm having 100 free blocks. In the 100 free block, நான் என்ன பண்றேன்? Okay. இந்த 100 free blockல நான் first block வந்து எதுக்கு யூஸ் பண்ணிக்கிறேன்? என்னென்ன free blocks available இருக்கு அதோட pointer store பண்றதுக்கு I'm using the first free block. Okay. So in this 100 free block, I'm going to have this 99 free block only because the first free block is used to store the location of all the free blocks available in the disk storage. Okay. So likewise, I'm grouping the number of free blocks. so that we can find. ஸோ இங்க என்ன பண்றோம் 100 ஃப்ரீ பிளாக்ஸ் இருந்தாலும் அந்த 100 ஃப்ரீ பிளாக்ஸோட லொகேஷனை நான் ஃபர்ஸ்ட் ஃப்ரீ பிளாக்ல ஸ்டோர் பண்ணிக்கிறேன். ஸோ இந்த கேஸ்ல நான் 99th ஃப்ரீ பிளாக்ல போய் நான் அந்த ஃபைலை ஸ்டோர் பண்ண போறேன்னா I can easily get the address of that 99th free block in the first free block itself. Okay, here we are reducing the traversing time by this grouping free management technique. Okay, so in this grouping free management technique, for 100 free blocks, that is for n free blocks, we are going to store the location of the remaining n-1 free block in the first free block. Okay, thus we are eradicating the problem of traversing more time in this free space management technique. The next method for managing the free space is counting. So this counting is also a variation of this linked method. So here we'll be keeping track of address of the first free block as well as the count of the following free blocks. Okay, so here as well as the address of the first free block, we'll be having the count. So it is similar to your linked allocation technique. So in linked allocation technique, we had only pointer to the next free block. But in this counting free space managing technique, along with the pointer, we'll be having a count value. That is here we are having 100 free block. So this first free block will have pointer to the second free block as well as the count value of the remaining free blocks. So after this first free block, remaining I am having 99 free block. So that count value also will be available other than the pointer to the next free block. So in this counting, we'll be having pointer to the next free block as well as the count value of the remaining free block. So if I am going to access the 19th free block means, so in the 19th free block, the pointer to the 91st free block as well as remaining how many free blocks are there? 10 free blocks. So the count value 10 will also be available in the 90th free block. Okay. So this counting is similar to the linked allocation in that we had only pointer to the next free block. This counting free space management technique along with the pointer to the next free block will be having a count value. That count value represents how many free blocks or number of free blocks available after this particular free block. Okay, for this we are using counting free space management technique. So till now we have seen about free space management technique that we saw about bit vector or bitmap free space management technique. The next we saw about linked free space management technique, grouping free space management technique. Last we saw about the counting free space management technique. Next we are going to see about file system mounting. So what do you mean by mounting means? To access a file, we need to include that file in the disk storage. That is known as file system mounting. So how we'll be including that file in a disk storage? That file will be included in some path. For example, normally in our computer system, if you see means the whole memory will be divided into partitions like C partition, D partition, E partition. I'm considering having these three partitions, say file system, C file system, D file system, E file system. So in that, I can have, normally in the C colon, we'll be having softwares and D and E colon will be used for storing some other data in our computer system in normal case. If I need to move a software from the C colon to the D colon means I need to have that software. For example, I need to move the software that is Turbo C++. I'm having Turbo C++ in the C colon. So I need to store it in the D colon means I need to include it in the D file system. That is, I am going to mount that file as a software file Turbo C++ in the D file system. That is, I'm going to include it. That is known as file system mounting. That is, then how the path will be changed. I hope you all remember that path which is shown in the top of that Windows Explorer. So if you're having that C, Turbo C++, software in the C colon means it will be represented as, the path will be represented as C Turbo C++. If I'm having it in the D colon means the path will be D Turbo C++. Likewise, I can have that inside a folder also. So the path will be changing. That is, I'm going to include a file in a path. Okay, that is known as file system mounting. File system mounting means I'm going to include a file in a path of the file system. So here below we are having some two figures A and B that I will explain for the concept of file system mounting. So this first figure A, if you see, the first, it is similar to your binary tree. That tree structure only will be available here. So the top circle, near to the top circle, we are having that slash. I hope you can see that slash. It is somewhat remind. So the slash represent, it is a root directory. Okay, that first one is a root directory. So under this root directory, we are having two roots. So one is named as users. So under this user subdirectory, we are having another two subdirectory, build and freed. In build and freed, we are having some file, and under this freed, I'm having another one subdirectory help. Like this, the file system looks like the structure B, A. See, in the structure B, I'm considering this file system to be included in this user file. Okay, நான் என்ன பண்ண போறேன், இந்த B figureல show கொடுத்திருக்க அந்த ஃபைலை I am going to mount in the user. So B structure என்ன கொடுத்திருக்காங்க, so I'm having that the top circle is a mount node. Okay, the node at which I'm going to mount. See, so here in this example, which node I'm going to mount? I'm going to mount in the user node. Okay, so that is a user node. So in that user node below, I need to have Sue and Jane subdirectories. Under this Jane subdirectory, I need to have prog and doc subdirectories. Like this, I need to mount. So for mounting, after mounting this B structure, this B file in this user, this mount will become like this. I hope you can see the slide number 12. We'll be having like this. Wait a minute. Everyone mute your volume, okay? You see, here after mounting that structure, file structure shown in the B to the A, see here we are having a parent directory. That node is indicated, that is a root directory indicated by the slash near that circle. So below we are having a user directory. The user directory, I have included that B structure. See, under that I'm having Sue, Jane. So that only I have included under this user. So I am including the file in the path. That is known as file system mounting. I'm including a file in the path. It is known as file system mounting. Here the mount point means it is a path at which I'm going to insert the file. That point is known as mount point. Here, which is the mount point? User is the mount point. Because in that user mount point only, I'm going to insert this file system. Okay. So this is what file system mounting. File system mounting means it is including a file in the storage that is particularly in a path. Including the file in the path. That is known as file system mounting. Next we will see about file sharing. So file sharing means we have created a file in our system. We may have multi-user system. That is, multi-user means we may have multi-login in our system. So file created by one user can be shared by another user. That is also possible in files. So we can share this files in case of multi-user file system. So for sharing, we'll be having protection scheme. That is, a file will be protected by means of password. So that password will be given to the user who need to access that file. So some group of users can also access that file. So a group ID will be used for granting permission for use group of user. So in a multi-user environment, the file need to be accessed by a particular user means that is protected by means of password, and it is known as user ID. So this user ID identify the user and it allows the permission to access that particular file to that particular user. So we can also have group of people to access that particular file. For that, we'll be having group ID. So using group ID, we can allow the users in groups to be accessed. Okay. So the group of user can be accessed. Okay. So for sharing, we are having some protection scheme that is done by group ID or user ID. So who will specify that user ID or group ID? The owner of the file or the directory will specify the user ID. So for group ID, the group of a file or the directory will specify that group ID. Okay. So this is we are considering in terms of multi-user environment. Okay. If I am assuming a distributed system. So we have seen this distributed computing environment, the first unit itself. So in a distributed computing environment, if we are having a file to be shared to different system means we can share it across the network. Okay. Distributed file system, all the computer system will be connected by means of a network. So in that case, we'll be using some protocols like network file system protocol. It is a common distributed file sharing method. Okay. This is a protocol. We'll be studying about this NFS, network file system protocol, in detail in your computer network subject, which will be studying in the 5th semester. Okay. So just we will see this network file system protocol is used for providing file sharing in distributed computing environment. Okay. To share a file in distributed computing environment, we'll be using this protocol NFS, that is network file system protocol, for sharing that particular file across different users or different computer system in the distributed file system computing environment. Okay. So if you see the file sharing in remote file system. So remote file system means we are having two or more computing system connected. That can be a distributed computing environment or peer-to-peer computing environment or client-server computing environment or cloud computing environment. So in all those computing environment, different computing system will be connected. That is remote file system. For that only we'll be having remote file system. That is a file available in one system may be accessed by the user in some other system. So how we can provide file sharing mechanism? The C means we can provide manually. File sharing can be provided to different users between different systems by manually using a protocol known as file transfer protocol. Okay. So this file transfer protocol is nothing but a program. Okay. So this FTP, file transfer protocol, and all you'll be studying in computer networks. But just to know what is the usage of this file transfer protocol, is used for sharing file between different users manually. We'll be using this file transfer protocol. For distributed file system, we'll be using NFS, network file system protocol. Okay. So in case our system is Unix system means we'll be using network file system protocol in terms of client server file system sharing. If we are using Windows system, so our system Unix normally we'll be using network file system protocol. In case of Windows, we'll be using common internet file system protocol. These two protocols are meant for sharing the files in distributed computing environment. Okay. And another thing, another method of file sharing is somewhat semi-automatic. It is by means of WWW, that is World Wide Web, through internet. We can share the file. Okay, that is through internet, through some browsers. For example, if you take our Moodle itself, in a Moodle you are uploading some assignment. You are uploading assignment in your from your home. So I am seeing that assignment in our college through that browser. Moodle, okay? Through that browser Moodle only, I am sharing a file. That is your assignment from your side is sent to me through that browser. Here, the browser which I am using is Moodle. Okay, like that we are having several browsers. It is semi-automatic. Semi-automatic means you should have a login. So using that login only, you are going into the browser and you are sending it, and it automatically comes to me. Okay. So using this World Wide Web also, we can transfer or we can share the file. So the file uploaded by you is shared to me. Suppose I am uploading a file in the Moodle. I am uploading a PPT for today's class in the Moodle, and that file is shared by you all who are in the Moodle classroom through this browser. Okay. That is, I am sharing the file, the PPT, to you all using this World Wide Web. Okay. This is a semi-automatic method of file sharing. So we have seen about the file sharing mechanism. So sharing a file needs some protection. In case of multi-user environment, that protection is given by user ID. For a user or for a group of user, we are having group ID. Then for remote file system, we can use file transfer protocol. It is done manually. Then automatically by means of this client server model. In client server model, we are having client system and server system. So the client system will request for service. The server system will provide the service requested by the client system. This can be done by means of protocols, NFS or CIFS, and semi-automatically by means of World Wide Web, we can share the files. Okay. So these are the mechanisms used for file sharing. Then at last we'll see a problem. Okay. So this is a simple problem. See here, the slide number 15, that bold letters will be a question. So the question, what is given? Consider a hard disk with 4 surfaces, 64 tracks per surface, 128 sectors per track, 256 bytes per sector. So what are the data given? It's 4 surfaces. 4 surfaces means here what is given? Hard disk. So I'm having a hard disk which contain 4 disk surface. So already I have said in the magnetic disk we'll be having cascaded disk. So here in this particular hard disk I'm having 4 disk surfaces. Next line, 64 tracks per surface. So the disk surface will be divided into concentric circles, that is known as tracks. So in a single disk surface, I'm having 64 tracks. Okay. Next, what is given? 128 sectors per track. So in a single track, this is a single concentric circle is divided into sectors. Here we are having 128 sectors in a single track. Okay. And then in each and every sectors, how many bytes? 256 bytes are available in a single sector. So 256 bytes per sector. So what is asked in the question? What is the capacity of the hard disk? Capacity of the hard disk can be expressed in terms of bytes, kilobyte or megabyte depending on its capacity. So for it, we are having a formula. There is a disk capacity can be found by, we are saying the disk capacity of a hard disk. So here in the question itself it's given. The whole hard disk has surfaces. So the first unit is surfaces, and within that surface we'll be having tracks per surface. Within the tracks we'll be having sectors per track. Within the sector we'll be having bytes per sector. So we need to multiply all the quantities. Okay. The disk capacity is surfaces, number of surface into tracks per surface into sectors per track into bytes per sector. So like this, if I'm multiplying from the question itself, it's given 4 surface. So 4 into tracks of surface is 64 tracks per surface. Then sectors per track is 128 into bytes per sector is 256. So while multiplying all these value, I'll be having this 8 MB. So while multiplying all this value, we'll be having in terms of bytes. Okay, இங்க byteல ஒரு numbers 4 into 64 into 128 into 256. இல்ல multiply பண்ணீங்கன்னா ஒரு 6 to 7 digit ஒரு number வரும். So that number, how I'm converting into megabyte means. So that number will be in terms of bytes because here the last unit is bytes per sector. So the obtained disk capacity will be in terms of bytes. So how to convert in kilobyte or megabyte? To convert it into kilobyte, we'll be dividing that number of bytes into divided by 1024. Because 1024 bytes is equal to 1 kilobyte. For converting the bytes into megabyte, we need to divide the number of bytes divided by 1024 square. Because 1 megabyte is equal to 1024 kilobyte and 1 kilobyte is equal to 1024 bytes. So the number obtained by multiplying this 4, 64, 128 and 256 should be divided by 1024 square to get the disk capacity in terms of byte. So likewise, I have brought this disk capacity as 8 megabyte. Okay. For converting the bytes into kilobyte, we'll be dividing by 1024. For converting the bytes into megabyte, I will be dividing the bytes by 1024 square. That is 1024 into 1024. Okay. So one more question can also be asked in this. That is, it will be given the disk is rotating at 3600 RPM and it will be asked to find the data transfer rate. So what is the data transfer rate will be asked in the question. That is here, the disk is rotating at 3600 RPM. RPM means rotation per minute. So 3600 rotation will be happening in a single minute. So what is asked in the question? Data transfer rate. Data transfer rate means how much data transferred per second. That is the data transfer rate. So here from the question, if you see, means 1 minute is equal to 60 seconds. The question, 3600 rotation per minute is given. So in 1 minute we are having 3600 rotation means this 1 minute is equivalent to 60 seconds. So I am saying in 60 seconds I am having 3600 rotations. So if I want how many rotation in 1 second means the above is 60 seconds. So I can divide the left and right quantity by 60. By dividing the 60 by 60 we will get 1 second. By dividing this 3600 rotation by 60, I will get 60 rotation. Okay. So in 1 second there will be 60 rotation. So what do you mean by data transfer rate? This is the amount of data transferred per second. So for that, what is the formula means? Number of rotations per second. This is how many rotations. So in a hard disk and all, how the data will be accessed? By rotating the disk in that particular cylinder, in that particular track, in that sector, within that we'll be having a byte of data. Okay. For that, the formula is data transfer rate is number of rotations per second into track capacity into number of surfaces. Okay. The rotations will be happening in the disk surface. The disk surface, each track will be rotated. Okay. So only in the formula it is given as number of rotations per second into track capacity into number of disk surfaces. So if you substitute means, so number of rotations per second. In 1 second, how many rotations? We have obtained in the second step itself 60 rotation. So 60 into track capacity. If you see the track capacity means, we need to say how many bytes in the track. Track capacity means how many bytes in the track. So in the question itself is given 128 sectors per track. So in a single track, we are having 128 sectors. In that 128 sectors, I'm having each 256 bytes. So what is the track capacity? 128 into 256. I have to say this track capacity in terms of byte. So I am going to multiply the number of sectors in the track and the capacity of the sector in terms of byte. So that will be 128 into 256. Okay. And then the last one is number of surfaces. Here in the question itself is given. The number of surfaces, 4 surface. So the last one into 4. Okay. So our data transfer rate is after multiplying the 60, 128, 256, 4, I will obtain the 7, 8, 6, 4, 3, 2, 0. This is a number which I will obtain after multiplying this value. This value will be in terms of bytes. If I need to multiply in, if I need to get this byte value in megabyte, then I will be dividing it by 1024. Already data transfer rate is bytes per second. I need to convert this bytes per second into megabytes per second, means I will be dividing it by 1024 square. Since 1 kilobyte is equal to 1024 byte and 1 megabyte is equal to 1024 kilobyte. For that only I am dividing it by 1024 square. So like this dividing, I will get the value as 7.5 megabits per second, because the data transfer rate is how many data transferred per second. So how many data transferred here per second? 7.5 megabyte data will be transferred per second. So like this the question may be asked. So I will after giving a quick recap of today's session, let's have a Viva session. So in today's class, we saw about the file allocation methods using a continuous allocation. In continuous allocation, continuous logical blocks will be allocated for a file. In linked allocation method, the blocks, the logical blocks will be scattered in the disk storage and it will be linked to one another for a file storage. For that, we'll be using a file allocation table. This file allocation table contains the pointer to the next logical block in the file. Okay, next in allocation method, I'm having indexed allocation method. So for this allocation type, the first logical block will be meant for the index of all the logical block. And then this free space management, we saw the different management techniques. There is a bit vector or bitmap. It uses a single byte to represent whether the logical block is free or occupied. And then we saw this linked free space list. There is a free space logical block available on the disk storage will be linked to one another. And in grouping, we'll be having the first logical block to hold the address of all the free logical block in the disk. And in counting mechanism, it is a little variant of linked one. So in that counting mechanism, we'll be having the count value also accommodated with the pointer to the next logical block. And after this, we saw about file system mounting. So file system mounting means it's including a file in the path of the disk storage. For that, we'll be having a mount point. So mount point is a point at which we need to include the file in the path. Then we saw about file sharing. File sharing is done by means of some protection mechanism using user ID or group ID. Then we saw some protocols, that is NFS and CIFS protocols for sharing the file in distributed file system. Then we saw FTP protocol for sharing in manually. Then we saw about semi-automatically by means of browser in terms of www. That is World Wide Web. And at last we saw a problem. The problem is based on the hard disk capacity and data transfer rate. Okay. So last Viva. Malati Subha.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Have you attended Viva for 4th unit?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Can you explain the last problem which we saw?
Yes, ma'am.
How to calculate the capacity of the hard disk?
நமக்கு கிவன் டேட்டா வந்து ஒரு ஹார்ட் டிஸ்கோட டேட்டா கொடுத்துருக்காங்க. 4 சர்ஃபேஸ் இருக்கு. அப்புறம் 64 ட்ராக்ஸ் per சர்ஃபேஸ். ஒரு சர்ஃபேஸ்க்கு 64 ட்ராக்ஸ் இருக்கு. அப்புறம் ஒரு ட்ராக்குக்கு 128 செக்டார்ஸ் இருக்கு. அப்புறம் ஒரு செக்டாருக்கு 256 பைட்ஸ் இருக்கு. இது வந்து கிவன் டேட்டா. இதுல இருந்து கெப்பாசிட்டி கண்டுபிடிக்கிறதுக்கு ஒரு ஃபார்முலா இருக்கு. சர்ஃபேஸ் இன்டூ ட்ராக்ஸ் per சர்ஃபேஸ் இன்டூ செக்டார் per சர்ஃபேஸ் இன்டூ பைட்ஸ் per சர்ஃபேஸ். இப்போ வந்து இது எல்லாமே நமக்கு கிவன் டேட்டால இருக்கு. ஸோ எல்லாத்தையும் வந்து மல்டிப்ளை பண்றோம். மல்டிப்ளை பண்ணோம்னா ஆன்சர் வந்து பெரிய நம்பர் பைட்ஸ்ல கிடைக்கும். அதை வந்து மெகாபைட்ல மாத்துறதுக்கு டிவைடட் பை 1024 power 2 போட்டா அது வந்து மெகாபைட்ல மாறிடும். கிலோபைட்ல மாத்தணும்னா ஒரு தடவை டிவைட் பண்ணா போதும்.
Okay, okay. See, simple question only, no. Okay, then I will ask another question. So, can you say about file system mounting?
Yes, ma'am.
Aradhi Subha?
Yes, ma'am.
Continue, continue.
ஃபைல் சிஸ்டம் மவுண்டிங்னா அதில் வந்து மவுண்ட் பாயிண்ட் இருக்கும். அந்த மவுண்ட் பாயிண்ட்ல தான் வந்து நம்ம டேட்டா வந்து கொடுக்கணும். அது மவுண்ட் ஆனதுக்கு அப்புறம் தான் அந்த ஃபைல் சிஸ்டம் வந்து ஆக்சஸ் ஆகும்.
Okay, that is you're including that file in the path of the disk. Okay. Okay, Malati Subha. Okay, next one. Ashwin? Ashwin, you are all right? Yes.
இருக்கேன் மேம்.
Okay. Can you say about any one allocation methods? Indexed allocation method.
ஓகே மேம்.
Okay.
இண்டெக்ஸ் அலோகேஷன் மெத்தட்ல வந்து முதல்ல ஒரு பிளாக்ல வந்து எந்தெந்த பிளாக்லாம் ஃப்ரீயாக இருக்கோ அதோட பாயிண்டர் எல்லாமே அதில் இருக்கும். நம்ம அதை ஆக்சஸ் பண்ணி நேராக ஃப்ரீயாக இருக்கிற அந்த பிளாக் ஆக்சஸ் பண்ணிடலாம் மேம். ஒரு புக்கோட இண்டெக்ஸ் பேஜ் மாதிரி அதில் என்னென்ன பேஜ் எல்லாம் இருக்குங்கிற மாதிரி அதில் இருக்கும். நம்ம அதுக்கு ஆக்சஸ் நேராக பண்ணிக்கலாம் அப்படின்னு சொல்லி.
ஓகே. பட் யூ ஹேவ் கன்ஃபியூஸ்ட் லிட்டில். ஃப்ரீ ஸ்பேஸ் மேனேஜ்மெண்ட்ல குரூப்பிங் யூஸ் பண்றதையும் இதையும் மிக்ஸ் பண்ணிட்டீங்க. இண்டெக்ஸ்ட் வந்து ஒரு ஃபைலுக்கு என்னென்ன பிளாக் அலோகேட் ஆயிருக்கோ அது மட்டும் இருக்கும். ஓகே, அதான் சின்ன கரெக்ஷன். ஓகே, ஒரு ஃபைலுக்கு அலோகேட் பண்ணியிருக்க பிளாக் எல்லாமே ஃபர்ஸ்ட் இண்டெக்ஸ் பிளாக்ல இருக்கும். என்ன அஸ்வின்? Ashwin? Okay. The question is simple. So, can you say about this file allocation table?
Yes, ma'am. Yes. Ma'am, ஒரு நிமிஷம்.
Okay.
எப்ப பவர் பேங்க்ல சார்ஜ் இருக்கா? Ma'am.
Yes, can you say about this file allocation table?
Ma'am, அது ஃபைல் அலோகேஷன் டேபிளில் வந்து முதல்ல நேம் அண்ட் ஸ்டார்டிங் பிளாக் இருக்கும். ஸ்டார்டிங் பிளாக்ல வந்து 217 ஸ்டார்டிங் பிளாக்ல வந்து ஒரு பாயிண்டர் இருக்கும். அது வந்து 618th பிளாக்கோட பாயிண்டர் இருக்கும். இப்போ நம்ம 217th ஆக்சஸ் பண்ணும்போது அதோட பாயிண்டருக்கு வந்து நம்ம போவோம். அப்போ வந்து 618 அந்த பிளாக்கு போவோம். அதில் வந்து அதுக்கு அடுத்த பிளாக்கோட பாயிண்டர் இருக்கும்.
Okay, okay, good. Okay, good. Okay, Ashwin, that's all for you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Next, anyone in the call didn't attend the Viva? Sharon? Have you attended the Viva for 4th unit?
Yes, ma'am.
4th unit Viva attend பண்ணியாச்சா?
ஆமா, அட்டெண்ட் பண்ணேன். லாஸ்ட் கிளாஸ்ல தான் அட்டெண்ட் பண்ணேன்.
Okay, okay, okay. Nandini, have you attended the Viva for 4th unit? Nandini,
No,
yes?
ma'am.
Okay.
No.
Okay, I will ask Viva for you. Can you explain about the file sharing concept? நந்தினி
ஓகே ஓகே
ஓகே கண்டினியூ.
ஸோ ஃபைல்ஸ் வந்து நம்ம மல்டி யூசர் சிஸ்டமில் வந்து நம்ம ஷேர் பண்ணுறோம். ஸோ அதுக்கு வந்து மல்டி யூசர்ஸ் இருக்கிறதுனால நம்ம யூசர் ஐடியும் குரூப் ஐடியும் யூஸ் பண்ணி அதுக்கு நம்ம ஆக்சஸ் பண்ணுறோம். ஸோ யூசர் ஐடியோட வந்து யூசர் ஐடி யார் ஆக்சஸ் பண்ணிக்கலாம்னா அந்த ஓனர் ஆஃப் த ஃபைல் ஆர் டைரக்டரி அவங்க வந்து ஆக்சஸ் பண்ணிக்கலாம். குரூப் ஐடினா அந்த ஃபைல் எந்த குரூப்புக்கு அலோகேட்டடோ அவங்க வந்து ஆக்சஸ் பண்ணிக்கலாம். இப்போ ஒருவேளை கிளைண்ட் சர்வர் மாடலில் பார்த்தோம் அப்படின்னா நமக்கு 2 ப்ரோட்டோகால் யூஸ் பண்ணுறோம். யுனெக்ஸ் ஓஎஸ் இருந்தது அப்படின்னா நம்ம நெட்வொர்க் ஃபைல் சிஸ்டம் யூஸ் பண்ணிக்கலாம். அண்ட் விண்டோஸ் இருந்ததுன்னா காமன் இன்டர்நெட் ஃபைல் சிஸ்டம் யூஸ் பண்ணிக்கலாம்.
ஓகே
அண்ட்
ஓகே குட். ஓகே enough. Okay Nandini. Okay.
ஓகே
This will end the Viva and we will end the session also. Okay, thank you.